Hey everyone, Jalen from TeamBurningInfinitey bringing you guys a Halloween deck profile. This time we have a devilish deck profile for you guys. It's my signature Demon Lord deck. And just a little give it a spin, I'm going to try and sound a little more enthusiastic and a little more menacing while I do this profile. To be honest, this kind of hurts my voice, but I'm doing it because it's kind of fun. So without further ado, I will get into the deck profile. First off, we have, of course, the flag and buddy. We have a Mazaria's secret flag, so I can show off that I am the one true Demon Lord. And my buddy is Aid of the Water Lord, Stein Blade Joker. It is a size 0, 3000 power, 1 critical, 3000 defense. It can only be called if I have a Demon Lord monster on my field. And when it attacks the center monster, it destroys it. This card is very useful in getting rid of center monsters. Even without that, it is still a decent size 0 with nice stats and easy to call. On to the first of the size 0s, we have 3 copies of Heatblade Joker 311 size 0 with the ability to, as an act, to put itself into the soul of a size 2 or greater Demon Lord and giving it Soul Guard when it is in the soul of it. This is really great in tangent with Demon Lords that naturally have Soul Guard, so you can give it more soul once it runs out. And even in Demon Lords without Soul Guards, such as Death as Modai, or if you choose to run second Omni Demon Lord, Omnidot, second as Modai, giving them Soul Guard, making them more menacing for your opponent to have to deal with. And it, on its own, it is a standard size 0 with 3000 power. And a decent 1 critical. And as we already went over, we have 4 copies of our buddy. On to the only size 1 in the deck. We have 100 Demon, Dungeon and Demon Lord. We have Thunder Emperor, Zane Blessed. Zane Blessed is a 1000 power, 2 critical, 1000 defense, size 1. With the 2 Thundermind abilities, 1 for when your opponent equips an item, he only activates once per turn. And the other one that only activates once per turn is when your opponent casts a set spell. It is a very decent size 1. It may be lacking in the power department, but it makes up for the amount of damage it can do, and an easy Demon Lord Dungeons target. On to the size 2s, we have 4 copies of Inverse Third Omni Waterlord, Dark Mazaria. Dark Mazaria is an Omni Lord, of course, so it can be played in other flags if you choose to want to run this, but only at 1 if it's not dungeon. 2 gauge, put it up to 1 spell from your drop zone into its soul. Note, you cannot use the gauge that you paid as part of the call cost. When this card is destroyed, you gain 1 life. It has Move and Soul Guard. This card is insanely good because of its move ability, allowing you to not leave an open center depending on the matchup, if it's detrimental or not, such with things with Penetrate or something that does something when you have a center. It also has the ability to gain you life, helping you deal with the lifelink that you do take in this deck at occasion. And with its 2 critical and Soul Guard, it becomes really annoying for your opponent to deal with offensively and defensively. Next up, we have 4 copies of Third Omni Waterlord, Mazaria. Mazaria is a 6/2/5 Omni Lord with the call cost to pay 2 gauge and put up to 2 spells from your drop zone into its soul. It has double attack, Soul Guard, and lifelink 2. It is probably the best Demon Lord to date because of its devastating double attack in combination with cards like World End and being called off cards like Death as Modai or second manifestation Deo Cruzar. This card is absolutely amazing, and its lifelink is not too bad, especially with cards that help nullify. On to the size 3s, we have 1 copy of Inverse Second Omni Demon Lord Death as Modai. It is an Omni Lord, which allows me to play 1 copy of it, and it is still a Demon Lord attribute and 72 Pillars attribute. It has a call cost to pay 2 gauge. When this card is destroyed, you put the top 3 cards of your deck into the drop zone. Call up the 3 monsters from among them onto separate areas without paying the call cost. It has Penetrate and Lifelink 2. It is very devastating for your opponent to deal with a 50,000 power, 3 critical, 10,000 defense, size 3 with Penetrate. So they can't play on the defensive while they have to deal with such high defense. And it being destroyed is not detrimental because at least it replaces itself as long as you mill monsters. It could be pretty annoying if you do mill something like a Ikaruga. Yes, it's great that you can get something back, but if they're able to destroy it afterward, you take even more lifelink, and it doesn't get soul because it doesn't get its call cost, so therefore no soul guard to protect it. But regardless, it's still a really nice monster, especially if you mill second manifestation Ikaruga. As for the first form, though, we have 4 copies of Guardian Dragon of the Demon Lord Castle, Ikaruga. Ikaruga is 8,000 power, 3 critical, 7,000 defense, size 3. Pay 2 gauge and put the top card of your deck into its soul. It has the ability when it enters the field, you can choose a destruction. There's an errata if you do want to check on the official Buddyfight website. Or Demon Lord from your drop zone and put it into your hand. It has Soul Guard and Lifelink 2. It is practically one of the best Demon Lords in the entire deck. It kind of holds the deck together, getting cards like itself, other Demon Lords in your deck, basically my entire monster lineup. It can get back most, if not almost all the spells in the entire deck from the drop zone. It is absolutely one of the most important cards in a Demon Lord deck. And then, lastly, we have 4 copies of Demon Lord's amazing impact monster, Ikaruga, second manifestation Demon Knight. It has 9,000 power, 3 critical, 5,000 defense, Soul Guard, and the call cost to pay 3 gauge and put it on top of a Demon Lord monster on your field. When it enters the field, you can call up to 1 Demon Lord monster from your hand without paying its call cost. Until this card leaves the field, it becomes size 0, and that monster can also attack during your final phase. This is a really amazing combination with World End. If you cast World End and then call this, you can start gaining soul before even your next turn starts, which is really helpful in accelerating the soul for World End. Also, I do have 4 copies foil, which is why I love this deck. Another thing is this card does not have lifelink, unlike your other size 3s or Miseria, so it is very much one of the most annoying cards for your opponent to deal with, because not only does it have a decent 5k defense with Soul Guard, but it also doesn't cost you anything when it leaves the field. Also, this card is a Demon Lord itself, so if you do happen to have multiple copies, hence why I will play 4, in your hand, you can keep calling them over and over. So say I call this on top of a Demon Lord, like Ikaruga itself. Then I can call another one from my hand, and then this one's triggered. And then I can call another Demon Lord from my hand, and they can all attack, depending if it's your turn. So it can be quite a devastating endgame. Now, enough about the monsters. It's time to go on to the spells. We have 3 copies of Dragon Blessing. You can only cast it during your opponent's turn. Pay 1 gauge, nullify the lifelink of all monsters on your field, and return any number of monsters from your field into your hand. It's a dungeon, an ancient world, and a guardian attribute that basically disguising your hand while nullifying your lifelink. It is absolutely amazing in this deck. It really helps dealing with Penetrate, so you can move your center monster out the way along with not taking lifelink. It's very helpful for the deck. We have 3 copies of Secret Arts of the Warlord. Secret Arts of the Warlord has a cast cost to pay 1 life, and you can choose 1 or 2 abilities. Either you put a Demon Lord monster from your drops into your hand, basically an Umber Reuse effect, or you put the top card of your deck into the gauge and you deal 1 damage to your opponent. Basically a 1-for-1. But getting a little something out of it like a gauge, which this deck is a little gauge heavy. But we're going to get into that a little later. We have 3 copies of Demon Lord's Dungeon. I do love the hollow effect on the lightning a little bit. Anyway, Demon Lord's Dungeon is free to set, but you can only cast it if you have a Demon Lord on your field. Not very hard with this deck. You're very easily able to get out a Demon Lord on any turn. At the beginning of your turn, you may pay the call cost and call a size 1 or less dungeon enemy from your drop zone. So that means literally all my size 0s and Zane can be called from the drop zone, and none of them have any call cost, so they're practically coming back for free. This is a Demon Lord itself, so if you already have one set, after already having a Demon Lord set the first one, then you can set another one. It's very easy to get off, and it's one of the most powerful set spells even to this very day. We have, for the basic nullifiers, 4 Divine Protection of Shalsana. Pay 1 gauge, nullify an attack on your opponent's turn, gain 1 life, and that's pretty much it. You can have an open center, a closed center, it does not matter, but you must have a gauge to pay. 4 copies of Hidden Crossbow, Trap, which will become probably relevant by D-BT04, Counter, Destroy, and it's a Destruction, which is retrievable by Ikaruga, our first form. Counter, destroy a monster with 3,000 or less defense. This can hit basically most offensive decks, really powerful monsters by itself. Maybe not most impact monsters, but they're base monsters like, say, Original Ball Dragon, Godly Speed Ball Dragon, go against, say, something like Jackknife. It hits Luminous Blue as long as they don't already have, like, say, 3 cards in Soul prior to calling it. 3 cards in Soul, like in another monster or another card. That's what I'm referring to. Sorry. Then we have the last spell, which we have 4 copies of Magical Eyes Release. You may only cast it if you have a Demon Lord on your field. It's a Demon Lord attribute. It has the ability to put the top top 2 cards of your deck into the gauge, and then you also send 1 gauge from your opponent's gauge zone to the drop zone. The amazing thing about this card is it's a Demon Lord attribute itself. It's free to cast. And with things like, of course, Ikaruga, say you already have a Demon Lord on your field. Let's say I call Heatblade Joker. I can call Heatblade Joker, cast this card, take an opponent's gauge. Say I'm going first. So both players, of course, unless you're going against special decks like Executioners or Guardians, they'll start with 2 gauge. So then you can cast this when you call the Heatblade Joker, and then gain 2 gauge and take your opponents. Then you can pay 2 gauge in order to call Ikaruga, get top deck Soul, like say it's so, and then you are able to grab this from the drop zone since this is a Demon Lord from Ikaruga's ability. Then you can cast it again, because there is no limit to how many times you can cast it, and then you're able to get rid of your opponent's last gauge on the first turn while having it 7k defense, and you still have the 5 gauge that you used, that you basically gained by doing this twice. So yeah, it's really helpful. It's really powerful against certain decks. Being able to take away gauge and refueling yours is really great for the deck. And then the last card in the deck, we have 3 copies of Darkness Final Mission card, World End. World End is a regular impact. It's set when your opponent, when your Demon Lord on your field attacks, put the top card of your deck into this card Soul face down. Regardless that the Soul is face down, you, the player, when you're controlling this card, you are still allowed to look at the cards that are face down. Either way, at the end of your attack phase, if there are 5 or more cards in this card's Soul, destroy all cards in your opponent's field, and his or her life becomes 1 and destroy this card. Your opponent's life becomes 1, so they cannot use cards that, say, nullify an attack, or nullify a spell because it's an impact, or regardless, they can't reduce any damage. Their life simply becomes 1. They do not take damage, but one fun ruling with this is if your opponent has a lifelink monster on their field when World End is present, and it leaves the field when World End is resolving, the lifelink will go into standby. Standby means that once the card, until a card is done resolving, its ability will not proceed yet. Once the card, aka World End of the situation, is done resolving, then lifelink will go into effect. And since your life has become 1, the lifelink will cause you to lose regardless. So that's one fun thing. Anyway, hope you guys like this video. This is kind of deep TeamBurningInfinitey for more Buddyfight content. I like to say happy Halloween, and I'll see you guys later. Joe, TeamBurningInfinitey, going out.